Today, I want to talk about this amazing book on the process of illustration, Imaginative Realism by James Gurney. For me, more than a book on illustration, it's a book on references, and it's definitely the best content out there on how to make your own references as well as the importance of that use in your illustration process. A lot of the people I talk to, past students and all of that, they don't use enough references, and you can definitely tell from their work. So I think if you are in that moment, definitely this book is for you. Let's jump right into the contents. Just as Color and Light, James Gurney starts with tradition. He's one of the biggest names in the understanding of late 19th century artists, the academic painters, as well as pre-Raphaelites and all of that, and early to late 20th century. So in his blog, you can definitely see Gurney Journey. Can definitely see from past posts, he really goes in depth to understanding and keeping informed about all of those people, and he brings that to this book and as well to Color and Light. He talks about copy from the masters, so that's a big topic in everyone that is studying art, so a great one to have here as well. Then he goes into studios, materials, and all of that, preliminary sketches, and the importance of doing sketch work before you move forward. So even like understanding storyboarding and some loosen up, all the way to having a charcoal comprehensive drawing as a basis. I've heard a lot of artists say there is no great painting that can save a bad drawing. I'll say that again. There's no great painting that can save a bad drawing. So the drawing is the basis. You can definitely ruin a good drawing with a bad painting, but not the other way around. So a lot of artists have charcoal or drawing comprehensive methods in painting on top of that. Norman Rockwell is one of them, as well as Gurney in this case. But you can look at even more recent entertainment industry artists. Evan Melamundsen, he draws a lot before going into the painting process. So it's very important to really go through this before you move ahead, and perspective and all of that. History in archaeology, historical painting was a big thing. If you look at the curriculum from academies all over the world, they had historical painting as one of the main structures. The golden age of illustration as well in the US. I have a book on Howard Pyle and his teaching process, and historical illustration was a big part of that as well. So really great to see some of his work here, as well as understanding what research went on that and how much research should be done. Most students don't have a clue on how to research and why to do research. Then goes into people drawing. We're going to see some examples of using references and all. Dinosaurs as well, building maquettes, creatures. He goes into maquettes as well. Some of the content here can be a little dated, as we have a lot of 3D tools nowadays. But maybe I really don't know. The more tactile process of building real maquettes will go a long way into the intricacies of the final results. But we do have a lot of 3D in our processes nowadays, so it's important to have that in mind going forward as well on your illustration journey. Architecture and its spaces, vehicles, as well as I mentioned creatures, but it wasn't apparent on the screen. Sorry, vehicles, and then once we have covered all those elements, he goes into plein air studies and really getting a grasp from light and how to use that and how can you bring fact into fantasy. So getting some of those on location drawings into your imaginative work. Museums and zoos as well. I love drawing at natural history museums, for example. It's great to bring a lot of that into your creative work. Then he goes into composition briefly. It's not a very in-depth discussion, but he talks about heat maps, very important. So we're going to see a little bit of that in the pages down the line. And finally, the whole procedure and looking back at everything and final touches, as well as career. So let's go look at some pages here. So as I said before, imaginative painting tradition, copying from masters, a lot of preliminary sketches in charcoal comprehensive as examples, thumbnail sketches, and all of that. If the image is not working here, it will probably not work. And I don't say definitely, because you can make changes in the drawing, in the value structure, and it can work. But it will probably lose a lot of strength from the thumbnail. It will be a struggle to maintain the looseness and strength that you gather at this point. So doing a comprehensive drawing, figuring out a lot of the things that you would probably have to figure out during painting on the drawing process. It's way cheaper, if we can say, like, time is money kind of thing. If you throw away a drawing, is way better than throwing away a whole painting process that took like 2, 3, even 4 weeks to finalize. History and archaeology, as I said, some examples of his work, research and use of reference, both on the clothing from the models that he's using, as well as gesture, poses, and all of that. So information and atmosphere, so telling a story through the landscape and the environment as well. I love the people examples of using reference. We even saw one of them, this next one here, in my video about 50 books for the self-taught artist. But hiring professional models sometimes, or even having some friends posing, a lot of different discussions here about this type of process. Managing details as well, very important here. Dinosaurs, I think this is one of the most famous maquettes from his work, but he uses a lot of different maquettes to get to the final product from his book Dinotopia. This is a great book as well. If you don't have that, I'll have a link in the description. Creatures and aliens, so skeletons and all of that. He doesn't go very in-depth on anatomy and construction for creatures and all of that. I definitely recommend Tara Whitlatch. You can find her books on my 50 books video. I'll have a link in the description as well. Architecture, so more maquettes and understanding textures and all of that, so great one. And vehicles, shape language references, for example. He's using insects to build the vehicles, so that's something that a lot of students might not think about using shape language. I remember a great example from, if I'm not mistaken, the Art Center College of Design, where they use vegetables to create characters. So this kind of stuff is really good to really take you out of your comfort zone and go into more innovative shapes and all. So using the dinosaur as a firefighter and all of that, so really interesting. Going into plein air studies, on location drawing, that's a great practice, even if you're not going to use on imaginative work, but you can use your paintings and getting that to the final illustration and getting more details and believability in your fantasy work. Composition to value structures. As I said before, we're going to see the heat maps from where the eye goes inside a composition. There are lots of studies on this, and they are very interesting. And overall, like map structures and really understanding different ways to show a product. especially if you're talking about concept art. We're mostly talking about illustration here, but if you go into concept art work, this plan view structure will be really important. So finally, looking back at procedures, as I said before, and combining everything. I love the references here on this final image. I have a very great vibe of Lawrence Alma-Tadema as well in this specific illustration work that is the cover from Dinotopia. So definitely should check that out. Alma-Tadema has a great, or Alma-Tadema, the way you want to pronounce it, has a great illustration / painting on that, a similar topic of a stairway, and a lot of people coming down from it. So a great reference. And finally, career. It's a little dated as well, as this was written a long time ago, but we still have a lot of the jobs that he mentions here, especially this one, more of a theme park design kind of person. It kind of goes into concept art once again, so be careful. Like a lot of the research that we're doing here goes into concept art, but it's a different way of approaching and presenting your final product. So that's basically it. This is an amazing book. If you are learning to do illustrations, or if you're struggling, you definitely should check that out. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, you probably will enjoy other books. So I'll have a playlist here so you can see all my book reviews. And I hope to see you all in another video. Have a great one.